I was left at the altar for the 9th time by my fiancé, who once again claimed amnesia, making me the abandoned woman everyone mocked. Later, I found out he was just doing it to please his mistress. After we broke up, he turned around and demanded compensation from me, and even protected the mistress who had caused his father's death. Furious, I ran out of the hotel and got into a car accident. He then brought his mistress to the hospital, forced me to kneel, and beat me to threaten me into going through with the wedding. After I united with his mistress' ex-husband and presented all the evidence at their wedding, he was abandoned by everyone. He died of advanced stomach cancer shortly after. And my current husband is precisely his mistress' ex-husband. Robert Grant frowned. Before he could speak sarcastically, a sweet, delicate voice sounded from the doorway. Robert, I heard Sarah was in a car accident. How is she? It was Tiffany Lane. Showing her pregnant belly, she walked towards me, looking frail and weak. You're awake. Get up then. The wedding is set for 3 days from now. Ignoring the IV drip in my hand, Robert Grant yanked me off the bed. Snap. The needle broke off in my flesh. I gasped. I slapped him back across the face. Get out. Who wants to marry you? I had no memory of the man in front of me. Looking at him, an inexplicable disgust rose in my heart. Robert Grant froze, looking at me, with eyes full of annoyance and impatience. Sarah, you're playing hard to get, only disgust me more. Don't forget this wedding is something you begged on your knees for. His sarcastic gaze landed on me, as if everything I did was to get his attention. I asked, am I really married to you? Just as he was about to touch me, I quickly dodged. Sarah, I know you resent me, but I never intended to ruin things between you and Robert. Okay, I understand. Robert Grant pulled Tiffany Lane into his arms. Tiffany, don't waste words on her. Let's go. She'd better not come crawling back to me. Outside the hospital room, the nurse's chatter reached Robert Grant's ears. Mr. Grant is really good to his fiancée, accompanying her for her prenatal checkups every time. You're mistaken. Sarah Miller is Mr. Grant's fiancée. The one from the entertainment news, who was abandoned at the altar 9 times. The one who just went in showing her pregnant belly. That's Mr. Grant's girlfriend. TSK, so she's the other woman. Tiffany Lane bit her lip, her eyes welled up. Sarah, it's not what they say. Robert just came with me incidentally. Please don't misunderstand. I don't misunderstand. I'm going to call off the wedding with Robert Grant. Robert Grant's face darkened. He strode towards me and raised his hand, slapping me hard across the face. Smack. The sharp sound of the slap echoed in the hospital room. I was dizzy, my head ringing. Robert Grant's palm tingled. Nice act, Sarah Miller. Stop your despicable tricks. Don't think I don't know you intentionally instigated the nurses to harass Tiffany. If I find out you do it again, it won't be just a slap. With that, he didn't even look at me, scooped up Tiffany Lane, and walked out. It took me a while to recover and get up from the floor. Her phone's memo app notification popped up, reminding Robert to eat on time as he has a stomach condition. It was densely packed with notes on his stomach condition, dietary restrictions, and 99 pages of special diet recipes she'd researched for him. Every page spoke of how much I loved Robert Grant. The special meals I made for Robert Grant, he turned around and fed them to Tiffany Lane's dog. The marriage I begged on my knees for, Robert Grant used his feigned amnesia to shamelessly humiliate me. And every time he ran from the wedding, it was to make Tiffany Lane happy. It also noted that Robert Grant had intermittent amnesia, and his episodes always occurred on the wedding day. Now I understood. No wonder, before I lost my memory, I had 9 wedding attempts with him. After reading it, I decisively deleted everything about Robert in the memo app. Scumbag. I called Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad, I've decided to cancel the wedding with Robert Grant. I'm going to emigrate to London with you. Okay, Sarah. We're so happy you're coming. I immediately booked a plane ticket for 3 days later. Having done all that, I went home to pack. Besides my personal belongings, there was some useless junk. There were special health recipes obtained from a traditional healer after much effort. A scarf I'd knitted for Robert, staying up 5 nights straight. A protective amulet I'd sought after much difficulty, climbing 999 steps in an arduous effort. And a specific classical text I had hand-copied 999 times as an equally dedicated act of devotion. When Robert Grant returned with Tiffany Lane, I was in the yard burning my belongings, memorabilia. Why are you burning them? Robert Grant's voice held a tension he didn't seem to notice. I didn't even look up. Junk. I'm burning it because I want to. Robert Grant was taken aback. The fear light flickered on his face, his expression unreadable, his fingers clenching into fists involuntarily. Cough. Ugh. Tiffany Lane conveniently started gagging, tears welling up in her eyes. Robert Grant snapped back to reality, picked up Tiffany Lane, and gently placed her on the sofa. What's wrong, Tiffany? It's nothing, Robert. Maybe the smoke is too strong, it's affecting the baby. Sarah is burning things, we can wait until she's done. I can handle this much smoke. As soon as she finished speaking, Tiffany Lane hunched over, gagging violently, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. She leaned weakly against Robert Grant, still stubbornly insisting she was fine. Robert Grant got up, grabbed a basin of water, and threw it at me from behind. The cold liquid poured down, the biting chill instantly soaking through my clothes. The water hitting my wounds sent a fine, needle-like pain shooting through my limbs. The scabs softened, cracking open, and blood mixed with water seeped out. I frowned. Robert Grant, are you insane? With a yard this big, the smoke isn't going to drift into the living room. His look of disgust was like a knife, cutting into me. Sarah Miller, haven't I told you to stop your little games? Go get ready. We're going back to the family estate for dinner tonight. I walked past them expressionlessly. I had something I needed to return to Grandpa Grant. Tiffany Lane blocked my path. I'm sorry, Sarah. Don't be angry with Robert. He's just too worried about the baby. He's not even worth my anger. Get out of the way. Robert Grant grabbed my wrist. I'll bring Tiffany with me tonight. Grandpa isn't well, so behave yourself tonight. I couldn't help but scoff. Robert Grant, you know Grandpa Grant isn't well. You're the one who needs to behave, not me. I coldly shook him off. Grandpa Grant dislikes Tiffany. To be with her. Robert Grant didn't hesitate to have a huge fight with Grandpa Grant. I opened the safe. The emerald heirloom bracelet was gone. This was an emerald heirloom bracelet given to me by Robert's mother before she passed away, as an engagement gift and her only keepsake. I suddenly remembered seeing a flash of green on Tiffany Lane's wrist. Robert Grant came over to hurry me. Not ready yet. Tiffany and I will go back first. You can drive over later. I saw Tiffany Lane wearing my clothes and jewelry. I grabbed her wrist and indeed saw the familiar emerald heirloom bracelet. Tiffany Lane, where did you get this bracelet? Tiffany Lane's face paled. What's wrong? Sarah, this is. Robert Grant pulled her protectively into his arms. Seeing the red marks on her wrist, he shoved me away. Sarah Miller, you hurt her. I gave this bracelet to Tiffany. It's just some old bracelet, I'll give it back to you. I stumbled back a few steps, glaring at him. Robert Grant, do you have any idea what this bracelet is? My words were cut off by his cold voice. Robert Grant's eyes were cold and menacing. I don't want to know. But you dared to hurt her over some old bracelet. He took the emerald heirloom bracelet off Tiffany Lane's wrist, toyed with it in his palm, a playful smile on his lips. I wanted to rush over and snatch it, but it was too late. There was a crack. The emerald heirloom bracelet was shattered. I sank to the ground powerlessly, my eyes burning red. Robert Grant, you will regret this someday. Perhaps my gaze was too resolute, because a sudden unease rose in Robert Grant's heart. This unease seemed to begin the moment the emerald heirloom bracelet shattered. Thinking of Mrs. Grant, who had been so good to me as a child, my heart was filled with guilt. Tiffany Lane knelt down to help me pick up the pieces. My eyes full of hatred, I pushed her away. Get lost. Seeing she was about to fall, Robert Grant caught her just in time. Robert Grant grabbed my hair, dragged me onto the broken pieces of the bracelet, and forced my knees onto them. The ground was stained red with blood. Even breathing pulled at the nerves in my knees, and I trembled with pain. Sarah Miller, don't play innocent in front of me. Looking at my pale face, he coldly dropped a sentence. After tending to my wounds, it was already dark. I took a taxi back to the family estate. When Grandpa Grant saw me, his face was full of kind smiles. At the dinner table, he completely ignored Tiffany Lane, treating her like she wasn't there. Tiffany Lane's eyes welled up with injustice. Seeing this, Robert Grant glared at me. After dinner, I went with Grandpa Grant to the study. I handed him the shattered emerald. Feeling guilty, I knelt down. I'm sorry, Grandpa Grant. I didn't protect this bracelet well. Grandpa Grant trembled as he helped me up, his voice choked. Sarah, you're a good child. It's not your fault. I know what you want to say. Robert is the one who wronged you. I heard when I returned a couple of days ago that he faked amnesia for Tiffany Lane and ruined your wedding 9 times. It's our Grant family that owes you an apology. Grandpa Grant took out a report. No wonder after the car accident, you remembered everyone except Robert. Our Grant family doesn't have the fortune to marry such a wonderful granddaughter-in-law. Afterwards, Grandpa Grant asked about my parents. I told him I was emigrating to London with them. As I left the study, Robert Grant grabbed me. Did you complain to Grandpa again? Seeing how worried he was about Tiffany Lane, I only felt sarcasm. I looked him in the eye and said, word for word, I told Grandpa I'm calling off the wedding. What? Say that again. His eyes were bloodshot. He seemed unable to believe those words came from my mouth. The Grant and Miller families are families who have known each other for generations. We had known each other since childhood. We were childhood sweethearts. The grip on my wrist tightened involuntarily. I said I'm calling off the wedding, Mr. Grant. Did you hear that clearly this time? What? Sarah, you've loved Robert for over 10 years. Can you really give that up? Tiffany Lane's astonished voice sounded from behind me. Hearing Tiffany Lane's words, Robert Grant immediately sneered. Sarah Miller, nice act. Stop playing your push and pull games. I didn't even spare him a glance. That night, he and Tiffany Lane slept in the guest room next door. The intense sounds of intimacy between him and Tiffany Lane reached my ears. I suddenly remembered something I left in the living room. As I opened the door, I happened to run into Robert Grant, shirtless. Tiffany Lane was nestled in the covers, her eyes full of triumph. I heard Robert Grant scoff. Sarah Miller, been listening long. Bang, the door was slammed shut. It took Robert Grant a long moment to realize he had been ignored by Sarah Miller. I was too calm, so calm that I looked at him, like a stranger. Robert Grant felt an unspeakable frustration. In the end, he attributed all of my abnormal behavior to my playing hard to get. They started again in the latter half of the night. The next morning, Tiffany Lane displayed hickeys right in front of me. I thought that if it were before I lost my memory, seeing that might have broken my heart. But after the amnesia, I felt nothing towards Robert Grant, not even indifference, but pure disgust. Even if they were entwined right in front of me, I could watch without batting an eye. At the dinner table, Robert Grant deliberately doted on Tiffany Lane in front of me, serving her food one moment, whispering intimately with her the next. Aside from the sound of cutlery clinking, I didn't even look up. Robert Grant's face was grim. The chopsticks in his hand creaked as he squeezed them. I finished eating and got up from the table, but Robert Grant grabbed me. Sarah Miller, you're overdoing the act. Don't forget about tomorrow's wedding. I'll pick you up to try on your wedding dress later. I wanted to refuse, but I remembered Robert Grant had left me at the altar 9 times. Naturally, I wanted to do the same to him. Seeing me agree, Robert Grant sneered, giving me an, I knew it, look. At the bridal shop, Robert Grant's friends were also there, sizing me up with mocking gazes. Robert Grant had someone bring out the custom-made wedding dress. Looking at herself in the mirror, I saw someone beautiful. But it wasn't for me. Tiffany Lane came out in a wedding dress, and Robert Grant's friends burst into exclamations. Why? She and Robert look perfect together. Robert Grant, dressed in a custom suit, linked arms with her. They truly looked like the bride and groom. Tiffany Lane giggled. Don't say that. Sarah is your sister-in-law. After saying that, she seemed to think of something and innocently covered her mouth. This wedding dress, I just tried it on because I thought it was pretty. Sarah, you won't be angry, right? I smiled. No. Robert Grant's gaze was fixed on me, as if trying to burn a hole through me. Tiffany Lane let out a startled cry. The zipper got stuck, and she insisted I help her. Inside the fitting room, Tiffany Lane's face was almost twisted. Sarah Miller, no matter how much you pretend, you can't fool me. Acting indifferent on the surface just shows you're trying to get Robert's attention. He's mine. You can't steal him. A vicious glint flashed in her eyes. With a sweet cry, my stomach. Sarah, don't kick me. I know I was wrong, I shouldn't have tried on the wedding dress. The door was kicked open violently. I didn't have time to explain. He kicked me viciously in the abdomen. My back slammed hard against the wall with a dull thud. I gritted my teeth. Robert Grant, I have proof. I didn't kick her. Robert Grant carried Tiffany Lane in a bridal carry. Sarah Miller, if you want the wedding to go on as planned tomorrow, you'd better kneel in front of Tiffany and beg for forgiveness. The wounds that had just scabbed over were ripped open again. The back of my clothes was once again stained red with blood. At the hospital, after Tiffany Lane underwent a series of tests and was confirmed to be unharmed, Robert Grant finally relaxed. Apologize. My silence infuriated him. He forced me to the ground, grabbed my hair, and made me hit my head several times. The dull thuds echoed in the hospital room. Then he threw her out the door like trash. Inside the hospital room, Robert Grant's solicitous words to Tiffany Lane reached my ears. I swallowed the bitterness. Stumbling, I left the hospital. On the day of the wedding, Ethan Miller stood on the stage, his arm around Chloe, who was in a white wedding dress. There were hundreds of times more reporters than at the previous attempts. Everyone wore expressions of anticipation, ready to see the spectacle unfold. After a long wait, I was nowhere to be seen. Ethan Miller took out his phone to send me a text message, the realization he was blocked stinging his eyes. Several subsequent calls went to a disconnected number. He gripped his phone tightly, his knuckles white. A knot in his stomach, his unease growing. Grandpa Miller received the news that Ethan Miller was having another wedding. He rushed to the scene, raised his cane, and struck Ethan Miller hard on the back. "You ungrateful son." Sophia told me herself that she canceled the engagement. "You want to humiliate her for this woman." "Grandpa, why are you here? Did Sophia Chen complain to you again, saying bad things about Chloe? You don't know how malicious she is, she even." "Enough. Ethan Miller, are you trying to bring disgrace upon our family name?" Sophia, in the study that day, voluntarily brought up canceling the engagement. "Now, I won't stop you from marrying the woman beside you, but if you marry her, you will no longer be a part of the Miller family." Panic flashed in Ethan Miller's eyes, and he subconsciously pushed Chloe away. "No way, Grandpa, you must be kidding. How could she possibly cancel the engagement?" Grandpa Miller took out the broken precious bracelet, his eyes welling up with tears. "She even returned the engagement bracelet from back then. This bracelet is your mother's last keepsake, and I know you're responsible for it being shattered like this." Ethan Miller's eyes widened in shock. He closed his eyes in pain, wanting to deny it, but he remembered his gentle mother wearing this bracelet. That day, he had only seen Sophia Chen clashing with Chloe and hadn't looked closely at the bracelet. His hands wouldn't stop trembling. He had actually shattered his mother's memento with his own hands. Ethan Miller remembered the look of hatred in my eyes that day. He staggered back a few steps, his head buzzing. Seeing him looking as if his soul had been drained, Grandpa Miller flicked his sleeve and left. Ethan Miller's friends sighed, one after another. "I thought I'd get to see a good show. What a waste of my 10 million. Yay, I hired a photographer to capture everything, just for fun, but she didn't show up. Cost me a Rolls Royce." Ethan Miller clenched his fists. "Shut up." One of them patted Ethan Miller on the shoulder. "All right, Ethan Miller, that's enough. Grandpa Miller's gone, stop acting. You can fool others, but don't fool yourself." "Ethan, nice tears. Tell me how you faked it. I'll learn and use it to hook up with girls." Facing their mockery, Ethan Miller's fists clenched audibly. "Shut up. If it weren't for you guys, Sophia Chen wouldn't have left me." The others exchanged glances and burst into laughter. "Ethan Miller, are you serious? Wasn't it your idea to fake amnesia and deceive her through 9 failed wedding attempts? Did you forget? Weren't you the one who dumped her at the first wedding and went wild with Chloe in a hotel all day? Now you're pretending to be a heartbroken lover." Before they finished speaking, Ethan Miller and the others were locked in a brawl. Chloe tried to break up the fight, but was kicked in the abdomen by Ethan Miller, suffering a miscarriage on the spot. Ethan Miller woke up in the hospital with 4 broken ribs. Subconsciously, he reached for his phone to text me, only then remembering that I had blocked him. Ethan Miller thought I was heartless, that I could just give up on over a decade of feelings for him just like that. Seeing him awake, Chloe said with a pained expression, "Ethan, our baby is gone." Ethan Miller didn't react. "Ethan Miller." I said, "Our baby is gone." Ethan Miller's expression was cold. He slapped her hard. "What are you yelling about? Sophia Chen was driven away by you guys. It's just a child, it's gone, it's gone." Chloe covered her face, disbelief in her eyes. "What do you mean, it's gone, it's gone? Did you forget yesterday at the hospital, when you made Sophia Chen kneel and apologize for me? Besides, didn't canceling the engagement suit you perfectly? You said you'd marry me, did you forget? Ethan Miller's face hardened. I won't marry you. With that, Ethan Miller didn't spare her a glance, leaving behind a cold, retreating figure. Chloe pounded the hospital bed in frustration, her eyes full of resentment. Ethan Miller returned to the old mansion, and knelt outside the study door. Grandpa, please tell me what Sophia Chen talked to you about that day. How could she be so heartless, just giving up on over a decade of feelings, for me like that? Seeing that he still showed no sign of remorse, Grandpa Miller was breathless with rage. He slammed the teacup in his hand against the door. Get out. Ethan Miller was persistent, kneeling at the door for 3 days and 3 nights before Grandpa Miller finally allowed him in. He angrily threw my medical report at his face. Look what you've done. Sophia, she got into a car accident and lost her memory, waking up having forgotten only you. How have you been treating her these past few days? Grandpa Miller pulled up the surveillance footage from the private room, where Ethan Miller and his friends were that night. Countless malicious words, like a surging tide, engulfed me. I was right outside the door, my face turned ashen, and afterwards, in a daze, I got into the car accident. Ethan Miller's expression was pained. He tremblingly put his hand to his forehead. No wonder I didn't care these past few days, when he was with Chloe. The look in my eyes when I saw him these days was clearly completely unfamiliar, even annoyed. He suddenly realized that we were childhood sweethearts, and he had once genuinely intended to marry me, but after meeting Chloe, his feelings changed completely. He had met Chloe at a private club, someone was maliciously force-feeding her alcohol. Her stubborn little face was full of tears, but she didn't beg or give in. He admired her strong spirit. After saving her, he kept her by his side, and they argued countless times because of things related to Chloe. Later, Chloe's face was swollen and red, bearing a slap mark. He was certain I had hit her, and from then on, his dislike for me grew. Grandpa Miller sighed and tossed out a few more photos. The photos showed Chloe before her plastic surgery. She had graduated from a finishing school, and deliberately went to the private club to hook a rich guy. Even their first meeting was deliberately orchestrated by Chloe. And the slap mark on her face was from when she had latched onto a rich guy, and his wife had found her and beaten her. Ethan Miller clutched the photos tightly, stumbling back a few steps. He remembered how Chloe had framed me, her countless lies. Overcome with rage, he coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed onto the ground. Hot tears streamed down to his mouth, and bitterness overflowed in his throat. What have I done? I deserve to die. Grandpa Miller said, Sophia, she was worried you'd be heartbroken if you knew all this, so she didn't tell you. But you, sigh. Just leave. Don't come see me again. Ethan Miller suddenly grabbed Grandpa Miller's clothes, like a drowning man clutching at a straw. Grandpa, please, tell me where Sophia Chen went. I can't reach her. I have to find her. Get out. This is your own doing. I won't tell you where Sophia is. Ethan Miller was kicked out of the study. After the 10th wedding attempt, my reputation as the woman abandoned multiple times was cleared. Ethan Miller became known as the man who abandoned his fiancé multiple times, cursed by everyone. Because of this, the Miller Corporation's stock plummeted. Ethan Miller's authority within the company was stripped, and Grandpa Miller decided to groom the next successor. My mom told me about Ethan Miller's recent situation. Learning that he wasn't doing well, I felt a great sense of satisfaction. My mom looked at the scars on my knees, her voice choked with emotion. Sophia, does it still hurt? I remember you were always afraid of pain when you were little. It doesn't hurt anymore. Don't worry, I'm fine. My dad's eyes were red-rimmed, and he clenched his fists, trembling. Those damn Millers. How dare they treat my precious daughter like this? When my parents found out what Ethan Miller had done to me over the past few years, they immediately stopped cooperating with the Miller family. Ethan Miller couldn't find any trace of me and decided to ask his old friends for help. Seeing his downfall, his friends kicked him while he was down. Ethan Miller, called yourself a heartbroken lover, did you actually believe it? You hit me pretty hard that day, didn't you? Go on, hit me again. TSK TSK TSK. So the great young master of the Miller family has to come begging us one day. What great young master? Isn't this just a pathetic loser? Ha ha ha. Facing the group's laughter, Ethan Miller's face turned pale. He finally understood the pain I had endured. It was also the first time he empathized with me. Ethan Miller, drink all the alcohol on the table, and we might consider your suggestion. Ethan Miller shockingly raised the bottle. He chugged the first bottle, his stomach burning. After the second bottle went down, his stomach suddenly cramped up, and he pressed his left hand tightly against the spasming area. After finally finishing all the alcohol, the burning sensation in his stomach surged up his esophagus and out of his throat. He vomited onto the ground, the puke mixed with blood. He doubled over in pain on the ground. I drank it all. You promised me. Before he finished speaking, the man in charge crouched down, patted his face, and sneered, "TSK, TSK, TSK. You pathetic loser." I said asterisk consider asterisk. Idiot. With that, the group laughed and left. Ethan Miller's consciousness faded in the burning pain. He closed his eyes in despair. He was filled with hate. His so-called friends from the past had only been interested in his power and status. He remembered that I had once warned him that these people were malicious and shouldn't be trusted. But Ethan Miller had snapped at me, telling me I was meddling. Ethan Miller woke up in the hospital, staring blankly at the ceiling. Those people had taken photos of him in his drunken state and sent them to the media. The Miller Corporation's stock continued to plummet. In a fit of rage, Grandpa Miller expelled him from the Miller family. After being discharged from the hospital, Ethan Miller spent his days at home drinking heavily. He remembered that, whenever he had stomach pain, I would make him home remedies and worry so much I couldn't sleep all night. He stumbled around the house and found the home remedy recipe left over from that day. On the cabinet, there were also notes I had specifically written about stomach medication. Self-reproach and regret swallowed him like a tide, leaving him breathless. He finally realized that he had personally destroyed the person who loved him the most. I opened a flower shop. Sitting in a rattan chair at the flower shop, reading, the faint fragrance of lily of the valley tickled my nose. Gentle instrumental music played in the background, and the days passed peacefully and comfortably. My flower shop gained a regular customer. I met him on a rainy day. That day, dark clouds gathered, and large raindrops fell urgently. David took shelter in the flower shop. David's eyes held an apologetic look. "Excuse me, the rain came down so suddenly. Could I shelter here for a bit?" He was soaked through, water droplets tracing his jawline down to his collarbone. His shirt was drenched, outlining his solid muscle contours. I handed him a towel. "It's fine. Have a seat. I'll make you a cup of hot tea." From then on, I became familiar with him. He would come to my shop every day to order a bouquet. He knew I loved flowers, so he made an effort to collect rare flower species for me. His intentions were sincere. Receiving his gifts, a touch of sweetness welled up in my heart, but it was also troubling. Every time I wanted to open my heart, it would involuntarily shrink back. "Sophia, you've been distracted these past few days. Are you still upset about Ethan Miller?" I shook my head. "Mom, my memory loss from the car accident made me forget Ethan Miller completely. It's not because of him." My mom held my hand. "That's for the best. Forget that jerk. There's a dinner tonight. Come with me. One of my business partners has a son who's quite nice and handsome too. As the saying goes, there are other fish in the sea." She made me laugh. "Mom, I haven't." "All right. It's settled. If you don't like him, Mom will find you other handsome guys." I just didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. At the dinner table, my mom subtly indicated the man across from me with her eyes. "Sweetie, what do you think? Your mom has good taste, right?" David saw me, and a smile flickered across his face. "Sophia Chen, what a coincidence." Maintaining my smile, I replied, "Yes, it is." My mom was very satisfied with David's conversation, demeanor, and everything else. David stood up to greet my mom. My mom, with a hint of gossip, said, "Oh, so you and my darling already know each other." David's parents' eyes also shifted between the two of us. Suddenly, I was sweating profusely. I found an excuse to slip away, and David, worried about me, followed. Looking at David, who had followed me out, I gave a dry laugh. "I didn't expect Mom's match to be you." "What?" "Nothing." He curved his eyes, tenderness swirling within them. I felt as though I could drown in his deep gaze. "Sophia Chen, actually, I had no intention of coming to this dinner tonight, but when I knew it was you, I came." This time it was my turn to be confused. "What?" He gently traced my palm with his finger. "Could you give me a chance to be by your side?" A slight tickle wrapped around my heart. My cheeks felt hot, and I said, "Okay." I noticed he had deliberately worn the same shirt he had on when we first met. Only this time, without the rain, you couldn't see his abs. The next moment, David took my hand and placed it on his abs. If you like, you can touch them every day. The corner of my mouth lifted involuntarily. Who says I like them? But my hand secretly gave them another squeeze. Abs are a man's best asset. David took in my little action entirely. He had noticed my interest the first time we met. David and I walked back hand in hand. Facing the eager gaze of both sets of parents, I subconsciously wanted to escape. He held my hand tightly, interlocking our fingers, and solemnly promised my dad and mom that he would treat me well. My parents were extremely pleased with him. The next day, David invited me to a Broadway theater to see a play. Seeing the person kneeling in the courtyard, the atmosphere instantly dropped to freezing. It was Ethan Miller. I hadn't seen him in a year. His cheekbones were sharp, his eyes had dark circles underneath, and they were bloodshot. He looked as if his soul had been drained, leaving only an empty shell. Seeing me, his eyes lit up. Sophia, I finally found you. I recoiled in disgust. What are you doing here? My dad shielded me behind him. Ethan Miller, you have the nerve to show up. Get out. You're not welcome in our home. Ethan Miller crawled closer to me on his knees. Sophia, I was wrong. Every day without you has been torture. My dad, who was still fuming about the past, punched him. Ethan Miller, my daughter lost her memory in a car accident because of you. Haven't you hurt her enough? Blood seeped from the corner of Ethan Miller's mouth. Mr. Chen, I know I was wrong. I want to beg Sophia to give me a chance to make amends. Sophia, can we start over? Let everything from the past be forgotten. I'll do whatever you want me to. He spoke with apparent deep feeling, but I just wanted to laugh. He thought a simple, let's forget the past, could erase all my suffering. David walked towards me, holding a bouquet of flowers. Sophia, I'm sorry I'm late. I stood on my tiptoes and kissed him on the cheek. Not late, just right. David's eyes sparkled like diamonds, and joy blossomed on his face. Sophia, you. Thud. Ethan Miller rose unsteadily, filled with resentment, and was kicked back down by my dad. He stared at me with painful eyes. Sophia Chen, who is thee? Did you forget our childhood promise? You said you'd marry me. Over a decade of feelings between us, and you're just letting go. Are you still angry with me? I frowned. Ethan Miller, I have amnesia. I don't remember any of what you're talking about, and I don't want to remember. So, there's no question of being angry. As far as I'm concerned, you're just a stranger who hurt me. His eyes still red-rimmed. He asked with resentment, Sophia, are you really in love with him? Yes. I told you, I don't remember you. Why can't I like someone else? Don't forget, my amnesia was indirectly caused by you. You dumped me at 9 weddings for Chloe, and now you come back with cheap, flimsy apologies. Why on earth should I give you a chance? Do you deserve one? He tried to find the warmth from the past in my eyes, but there was nothing there except coldness and disgust. Sophia, is this because of Chloe? I understand now. I won't let her get away with this. A fierce look flashed in his eyes as he muttered deliriously. Seeing this, David squeezed my hand sympathetically. His warmth brought me peace of mind, and I smiled back at him. Ethan Miller was speechless, watching the tenderness I once showed him being poured onto another man. A dull pain suddenly erupted in his stomach. He trembled with pain, the taste of rust filling his throat. Ethan Miller coughed up a mouthful of blood. His vision went black. He tremblingly reached out his hand. Sophia Chen, my stomach hurt so much. He remembered that I cared about his stomach the most. Whenever he said he was in pain, I would drop everything, even flying back overnight from abroad, just to take care of him. I was expressionless. Whether you die of pain or not is none of my business. Then, I turned and walked away with David. David, let's go. Don't let this delay our time for the play today. Ethan Miller watched our retreating figures, his eyes empty and despairing. His consciousness faded in that moment. I sat in David's passenger seat, without giving Ethan Miller even a glance. David noticed I was upset. Sophia, why don't I take you somewhere else? I'm fine. Let's go quickly. Today is our first date, don't let irrelevant people ruin it. It was true. I was very happy with David. He noticed my little moods, paid attention to what I liked, constantly prepared surprises for me, and respected me greatly. Suddenly noticing my sadness, his gaze was firm and gentle. Sophia Chen, don't be afraid. Trust me. Don't shrink back because of one setback. No matter who you are, I like you. Yes, what happened in the past is in the past. I received news about Ethan Miller 2 days later. A doctor called me and said that his stomach had always been bad, and combined with heavy drinking, every day last year, he now had advanced stomach cancer. You have the wrong number. I'm not his family and I don't know him. But he keeps calling your name. There are many people with the same name. Even if he really dies, it has nothing to do with me. Hearing my ruthless voice, Ethan Miller's eyes dimmed. A month later, David and I got married. The wedding was grand, with guests filling the seats and offering blessings. Under the warm sunlight, I finally walked towards happiness. I heard about Ethan Miller again, 3 months later. He was dead. Chloe was also dead. After he returned to the country, he tracked down Chloe's whereabouts. That year, when Chloe learned he had lost his power, she dumped him and latched onto another rich guy. She even deliberately mocked Ethan Miller at a drinking party. Ethan Miller saw her true colors. This time, Ethan Miller returned to the country, gathered evidence that she was kept by a rich man, and sent it to his wife. The wife came looking for her and removed the bodyguards the rich man had assigned to protect her. This gave Ethan Miller the opportunity to kill her. Ethan Miller sent me a letter, but I threw it away without even looking at it. What was in the letter didn't matter anymore. I looked at David beside me. What mattered was to cherish the person right beside me.